Band of Brothers was an HBO miniseries based on the events of Easy Company, which was the 506th Regiment of the 101st Airborne Division in World War II. It basically just showed what they did and what they had to go through and how they were basically a band of brothers to survive the war. It could be seen as a new vision film to start off because it really favors individuality over the whole. It focuses on Easy Company alone and doesn't really give any perspective of what America was trying to go for in the war or what the Allies' objectives were or anything like that, and we don't really get a sense of who's winning the war and who's not. Also, because it's a new vision film, it goes through, it kind of has the respective authority to an extent. This can be seen mostly through Major Richard D. Winters and Captain Herbert Sobel in the first two episodes alone, and there's more later on. In one scene, even though Winters is usually respected, he's not respected by Bill Garnier, which is just one of the soldiers in Easy Company. And what happened in the scene was Garnier, he shot a bunch of Germans even though he was told to hold their fire, and right after they dropped, after their first airborne drop. And we never really know why he did it, but you can assume it's because of the jitters. And earlier his brother was shot, and he was also fighting for the U.S. Army, and he was shot. So he was just really mad at the Germans and didn't really listen, didn't really have any respect for Major Winters' orders, and just tried to kill as many Germans as he could. Also, there's respective authority to an extent seen through Captain Sobel in this scene. You should be hearing a voiceover in a second. Hold on. Basically, they're in boot camp and they're walking around and they're going on a mission, and Captain Sobel gets them lost, and he has them go behind a bush, and he's trying to figure out the problem, and they're trapped at a fence, and they decide to mess with him. Captain Sobel is looking at the map, and he's trying to figure out where he is.
Is there a problem, Captain Sobel?
Who said that? Who broke silence?
I think it's Major Horton, sir.
It's actually just one of the soldiers impersonating him.
What is he? Did he join us?
I think maybe he's moving between the platoons, sir.
He's not.
Goddamn hold up, Mr. Sobel. A fence! Sir, a barbed wire fence!
Oh, that dog just ain't gonna hunt.
Now you cut that fence and get this goddamn platoon on the move! Yes, sir!
Clearly it's not what he's supposed to be doing. That's just one of the soldiers impersonating higher authority and giving Captain Sobel a hard time, which really shows their respect for him, that they have none, because he always revoked their weekend passes during boot camp, and even for the littlest things he would revoke their passes. So even though they have to listen to him in situations, they also find times where they can defy him in this scene. I think this could be related to because the movie was made in 2001, this could be, the respect to authority for an extent could be because of the Clinton and Monica Lewinsky sex scandal. And Clinton was respected because he created 22 million new jobs, and unemployment rates went from 7.5% to 4%, and the economy was at its highest it's ever been in the last 30 years before his presidency. So he was doing really well for the country, and a lot of people liked him, but then he had a sex scandal with Monica Lewinsky, who was his secretary, and he lied about it, said he didn't have sexual relations with her, and a lot of people saw this as really shady, and they lost their faith in him. And he was tried by the U.S. government, and he was actually impeached, and he was I think he was the second president to ever be impeached, so that could really cause the U.S. people to not trust him and not have any respect for him anymore. Also, this can be seen as a New Vision film because it's really up close. All the battles are really up close and gory. You can see that some German soldiers getting shot, and it's up close. Bazooka being shot off, and a German soldier being shot with a pistol, and you can see the blood coming out of him. And this really represents New Vision films because you get the more individual over the whole, and you see basically what the soldiers were doing and how they had to fight for each other, and it did it kind of through a gory, bloody way. I think this can be most attributed to the 1995 Oklahoma City bombing, and this is because it was just a really awful, bloody, and gory thing that happened. As you can see, there's a woman here that's clearly been injured, and in all, 168 people were killed in the Oklahoma City bombing, and it was just not a good situation, and it was actually broadcasted on the news, so a lot of people could see, not really up close and all the bloody and dead bodies and stuff, but they could see the extent as to how that could really have affected Oklahoma City and the neighboring buildings from the explosion. One more theme that this is a New Vision film is during the Battle of Bastogne, there's a lot of tension, and tension is a big concept in New Vision films, and this tension in the movie is between Easy Company and all their soldiers and higher authority, because they're basically just out in the woods for weeks on end in the middle of winter with little to no supplies, ammunition, medical supplies, or anything like that, and they're kind of left there not to die, but they can radio in and stuff, but they're under heavy artillery fire constantly, and they're constantly getting injured, and this created a lot of tension with authority because they never got any backup, and they never got any barely got any resupplies, and never got hot meals, and their portions were always small, and a lot of the guys were really mad because they always felt like the Easy Company was always on the front line, and even though they were seen as the best company and they could really get the job done, they're always taking their lives. They're always risking their lives, and other companies weren't really doing that as much. I think this could be attributed to the Bush and Gore election because there was a lot of tension between Americans, between Bush and Gore, and it was such a close election. Even though Gore won the popular vote, Bush won the electoral vote, and therefore Bush became president, even though both the electoral and popular vote were very, very close, and Gore could have easily won the presidency over Bush. And I just think that's where the tension came from in the movie. And here's my bibliography.